People fail to reach their goals not because they aren't gifted, not because they weren't born with enough talent, but because they can't stay consistent long enough to see the results of their own potential. You keep thinking you need to be great to start, but what you really need is to start long enough to become great. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. But most people never cross it because they keep stopping halfway. You start strong, you start excited, you start with fire in your eye, but the moment the excitement goes away, the moment it gets uncomfortable, the moment life stops clapping for you, you slow down and tell yourself you'll pick it back up later. And the later never comes. Talent is overrated. Consistency is everything. The world is filled with talented people who never changed their lives because they couldn't discipline themselves to show up every single day. You think the gap between you and your goals is ability, but it's really habits. It's the tiny choices you make every morning. It's the decision to do what you said you were going to do even when the mood has left your body. You're not missing a skill. You're missing a follow through. You got dreams that require daily effort, but you're giving them weekly energy. You want results that demand discipline, but you're giving them temporary motivation. And temporary anything will always lead to temporary progress. You got to understand something. Greatness is built on repetition. You don't get strong because you lifted a weight one time. You get strong because you kept lifting when your muscles burn. You don't become successful because you worked hard once. You become successful because you kept working on days that felt heavy, on days nobody saw them, days you want to stay in bed. Consistency is boring. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It doesn't get applause. But it is the foundation of everything extraordinary. Every champion you look up to didn't win because they were better. They won because they refused to stop. You keep thinking success is about intensity, but it's really about endurance. Most people can go hard for a day. Very few can keep going for a year. Intensity gets you started. Consistency gets you finished. You don't need more hype. You need more habits. And habits are built one day at a time, one choice at a time, one uncomfortable moment at a time where you push yourself just a little further than you did yesterday. You got dreams on the line, and every time you choose comfort, you push those dreams another day away. Let me be real. You're not losing because you're weak, you're losing because you keep resetting. You start again, you stop again, you stop again, and then you wonder why you're not making progress. You can't plant a seed, dig it up, plant it again, dig it up again, and then complain that it's not growing. Growth requires consistency. Progress requires patience. Momentum requires showing up even when it feels pointless. The days that don't feel productive are still producing something in you. They're building discipline. They're building resilience. They're shaping the version of you who can actually handle the success you're praying for. You got to train yourself to stop depending on feeling. Feelings are inconsistent, so if your actions depend on your emotion, your progress will always be unstable. You must learn to act independently of your mood. Professionals don't show up because they feel like it. They show up because they're committed. Winners don't wait for the perfect moment. They create momentum through daily action. Consistency is a choice, not a personality trait. It's not something you're born with, it's something you build. And you build it by deciding that your goals matter enough to keep going even when your energy doesn't match your intentions. You keep comparing yourself to people who are ahead of you, but you forget that they've been consistent for a year while you've been on and off. Imagine where you'd be right now if you had stayed committed the last 6 months, the last year, the last 5 years. You keep restarting from the same point because you never pushed far enough to reach the breakthrough. The breakthrough always comes after the boredom, after the frustration, after the plateaus where you feel like nothing is changing. But you quit before you reach that point. You give up right before the transformation kicks in. If you want different results, you have to show up differently. Not for a week, not for a month, but until the goal is met. You have to become the type of person who's dependable with their own dream. How can you expect the world to believe in you if you can't even believe yourself when you say, I'll do it tomorrow? Your goals don't need perfection. They need persistence. They don't need speed. It ain't stamina. You don't need a better plan. You need better discipline. You keep wondering why you're not reaching your goals, but the truth is simple. You're still negotiating with your comfort zone. Every time life gets uncomfortable, you start making deals with yourself. You say things like, I'll do it later. I'll start tomorrow. I need a break. And every one of those little excuses becomes a contract you sign with mediocrity. Greatness doesn't negotiate. Discipline doesn't negotiate. Winners don't negotiate with their weakness because the moment you do, you've already lost. When you negotiate with your excuses, you give your comfort zone power over your future. You got to understand that the version of you that wants to stay comfortable is the same version of you that keeps ruining your progress. That version wants ease, wants pleasure, wants shortcuts, wants instant results without paying the price. And as long as you keep listening to that version of yourself, you will always remain stuck. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you're choosing the same life you said you wanted to escape. You're choosing the same habits that kept you average. You're choosing the same behavior that kept you small. Comfort is a silent killer. It doesn't destroy your life all at once. It destroys it slowly, quietly, one skip day at a time, one excuse at a time, one broken promise at a time. You think skipping today won't hurt, but skipping today becomes skipping tomorrow. And skipping tomorrow becomes forgetting why you started. Every time you say just this once, you're training yourself to abandon your goals whenever they require effort. But discipline is built the same way, one choice at a time. Discipline grows every time you say, not today, every time you push through the discomfort, every time you reject the easy way out. You've been listening to your emotions more than your purpose. You let your mood decide your work ethic. You let your feelings control your future. But feelings are not loyal. Feelings come and go. Feelings will lie to you. Feelings will tell you to stop when you need to keep going. Feelings will tell you it's too hard when you haven't even scratched the surface of your potential. Discipline doesn't care about your feeling. Discipline is the voice that says, do it anyway. And until you learn to obey that voice, you will keep falling short of everything you're chasing. There's a battle happening inside you every day. One voice says, rest. The other voice says, rise. One voice says, quit. The other voice says, keep going. One voice says, it's too hard. The other voice says, you were built for this. The problem is you keep feeding the wrong voice. You give your excuses the microphone. You give your doubt the spotlight. You give your comfort zone all the attention. And whatever you feed is what grows. If you feed your weakness, it becomes stronger. If you feed your discipline, it becomes unstoppable. You've got to stop making excuses look reasonable. You justify your lack of effort by blaming your circumstances, your schedule, your energy, your past, your responsibilities. But there are people with less time, less resources, less support, less strength who still show up every day and give everything they have. The difference isn't their situation. The difference is their mindset. They refuse to negotiate with the part of themselves that wants to quit. If they refuse to let excuses have the final say, they refuse to let comfort decide their future. Every time you decide to push beyond your comfort zone, you break a piece of the chain that's been holding you back. Growth happens in discomfort. Strength is built in discomfort. Success lives in discomfort. The life you want is on the other side of everything you're avoiding. All the progress you're desperate to see is hidden behind the tasks you keep pushing off. The person you're trying to become requires you to stop protecting the version of yourself that's scared of effort. You've got to start being honest with yourself. Honesty is the foundation of discipline. If you say you want it, then act like you want it. If you say it matters to you, then prove it with consistency. Stop telling people you want to be successful while living like someone who's comfortable with failure. Stop saying you're hungry when you're skipping meals that feed your future. Stop saying you're serious when your actions say you're negotiating with distractions, with laziness, with fear. The moment you stop negotiating with your weakness is the moment your whole life changes. You begin to operate with a different level of intensity, a different level of focus, a different level of purpose. You stop seeking comfort and start seeking challenges. You stop avoiding the hard work and start chasing it. You stop waiting for motivation and start relying on commitment. Discipline becomes your default setting. Excellence becomes your expectation. Consistency becomes your identity. When you remove negotiation from your life, you remove hesitation. Most people don't fail because they're not capable. They fail because they can't stay committed on the days they don't feel motivated. Everybody can show up when the sun is shining, when there's applause, when life feels good. But the ones who win, the ones who hit their goals, the ones who build their life they're proud of, they show up in the rain, in the dark, in the doubt, in the discomfort. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is a fire that keeps burning long after the spark dies. You keep waiting to feel ready, but readiness is a myth. You keep believing you need inspiration, but inspiration is seasonal. What you really need is the ability to keep moving even when you feel empty. There are days you'll wake up tired, days you'll feel defeated before you even start, days every part of you will want to quit. Those days matter more than the good one. Those days define you. Those days make you. Success is built on the days you don't feel like doing anything but do it anyway. Every time you push yourself through those moments, you're building a version of yourself that can handle more, that can endure more, that can achieve more. Discipline is forged in discomfort. Discipline grows in the presence of resistance. The grind shapes you in ways motivation never could. The truth is, motivation is emotional, but discipline is deliberate. Motivation depends on what's happening around you. Discipline depends on what's happening inside you. Motivation is about excitement. Discipline is about commitment. Motivation says, I want to, Discipline says, I want to. Discipline says, I will. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. If your progress depends on your motivation, you'll be inconsistent for the rest of your life because no one wakes up motivated every single day. No athlete, no entrepreneur, no leader, no champion is motivated all the time. But they don't need to be. They rely on routines, habits, structure, repetition, things that don't care about how they feel. You've got to train yourself to show up regardless of your mood. Your future doesn't care if you're tired today. Your goals don't care if you're not in the mood. Your dreams don't care if you're stressed out. They only respond to one thing: consistent action. The moment you stop letting your emotions control your effort is the moment your progress becomes unstoppable. You stop being a slave to how you feel and start becoming a master of who you're becoming. You have to understand that every commitment you make to yourself is a promise. And every time you break that promise, you damage your own self-trust. You start believing less in yourself. You start doubting your abilities. You start building an identity of inconsistency. And once you see yourself as someone who doesn't follow through, everything becomes harder. But the opposite is also true. Every time you honor a commitment, a small one, you build confidence. You build momentum. You build a belief in yourself that becomes unshakable. Discipline builds identity, and identity builds destiny. Most people are addicted to comfort, and comfort kills commitment. You want results without resistance. You want progress without pain. You want growth without struggle. But every part of your life that's meaningful will require discomfort. The things that change you will rarely be things you enjoy in the moment. The breakthrough won't happen when you're comfortable. It happens when you're exhausted but make the call anyway. When you're discouraged but study anyway. When you're overwhelmed but train anyway. That's where the magic is. That's where transformation begins. Not in the ease, but in the effort. You gotta stop believing that motivation is what successful people rely on. They don't. What separates them is their ability to execute consistently. They do the work whether or not they feel like doing the work. They show up whether or not anyone is watching. They push themselves when nobody claps for them. They understand that discipline is a muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. And if you only act when you feel like acting, you'll never build that muscle. You'll stay weak. You'll stay inconsistent. You'll stay trapped in the cycle of starting and stopping, starting and stopping, never finishing anything you begin. Discipline is the difference between wishing and winning. Motivation will tell you what's possible. Discipline will show you what's possible. Discipline will take you to places motivation could never carry you. Discipline is the engine that drives achievement. It's the standard you hold yourself to even when no one else is looking. It's the promise you keep long after the excitement fades. It's the willingness to prioritize your purpose over your feelings. Once discipline becomes part of who you are, success becomes a natural outcome, not a miracle. You've been living your life depending on the wrong fuel. You're trying to run a marathon on fireworks. You're trying to reach championship level goals while surrounding yourself with people who are okay with being average. And you don't even realize how much that environment is slowing you down. You keep thinking you can outgrow the people around you without changing the people around you, but it doesn't work like that. You can't soar with eagles if you spend all your time walking with pigeons. The people you choose to keep close will either fuel your growth or suffocate your potential. Tall. Your environment is shaping your mindset, your habits, your expectation, and you don't reach your goals because you keep placing yourself in spaces that don't match your ambition. When you're surrounded by people who complain more than they commit, you start picking up their patterns. When you're around people who talk big but work small, you start normalizing inconsistency. When you're around people who settle for less, you start seeing what sounds acceptable too. Whether you admit it or not, your circle becomes your mirror. And if that mirror is filled with doubt, excuses, procrastination, and low standard, you will reflect those same qualities no matter how hungry you say you are. Discipline can survive alone for a while, but not forever. Sooner or later, your environment starts pulling you down or pushing you forward. You got to understand that energy is contagious. Commitment is contagious. Focus is contagious. But so is laziness. So is negativity. So is fear. You're not just influenced by what people say. You're influenced by what they normalize. When you're surrounded by people who think average effort is enough, you start thinking excellence is extra. When you're around people who quit when things get hard, you start believing quitting is an option. And once quitting becomes an option, you've already lost the battle. You need people who challenge you, people who inspire you, people who ask you why you're not going harder, people who remind you of your standards when you start slipping, people who don't let you talk yourself into playing small. The right circle won't let you hide behind your excuses. The right circle won't clap for effort you know is below your best. The right circle won't let you pretend you're giving 100% when you're giving 60%. They hold you accountable, not because they're judging you, but because they expect greatness from you, and they refuse to watch you sabotage your own potential. But here's the truth. Most people don't want to leave their environment because it's familiar. You'd rather stay with people who make you comfortable than move toward people who challenge you to be better. Comfort feels good, but it doesn't help you grow. The people who co-sign your excuses, who tell you it's okay every time you underperform, who make you feel good about giving less, they are not supporting you, they are slowing you down. If your circle claps for mediocrity, you will never reach your goals. If your circle's afraid of growth, you will never grow. And if your circle doesn't care about their future, you will eventually stop caring about yours too. Sometimes the most painful part of leveling up is realizing not everyone can go where you're going. You can love people, but you can't let them stop you. You can respect where they are, but you can't let them keep you where you are. There comes a moment when you have to choose between their comfort and your calling, between their approval and your evolution. You're not being disloyal by outgrowing people. You're being disloyal to yourself by staying small to keep them comfortable. You need to intentionally place yourself around people who think bigger than you. People whose work ethic embarrasses your excuses. Your excuses. People whose discipline forces you to elevate. People whose lifestyle challenges you to raise your standards. You need conversations that stretch you, not conversations that drain you. You need mentors, not just friends. You need examples, not just encouragement. Not just encouragement. Your environment should make you uncomfortable in the best way possible. The kind of uncomfortable that pushes you toward growth, not away from it. When you get around the right people, everything changes. Your confidence grows because you see what's possible. Your standards rise because their standards are higher. Your work ethic improves because you don't want to be the person in the room giving the least effort. The right environment creates the right pressure. The right pressure creates the right habits, and the right habits create the right results. Success isn't just about what you do. It's about what you allow around you. You got goals that require a championship mindset, but you're hanging out with people who don't even want to practice. You've got dreams that require late nights and early mornings, but you're surrounded by people who just want to chill. You've got potential that demands discipline, but you're around people who are allergic to accountability. Everybody loves the idea of success. Everybody loves the outcome, the spotlight, the rewards, the lifestyle, but very few people love the process. Very few people love the grind. Very few people love the hours nobody sees, the sacrifices nobody applauds, the uncomfortable moments where you have to choose discipline over desire. You keep dreaming about the finish line, but you don't want to run the race. You want the celebration without the sacrifice. You want the reward without the responsibility. But life does not hand out trophies for intentions. Life rewards execution. Life rewards commitment to the process, even when the outcome feels far away. The process is where your character is built. The process is where your discipline is formed. The process is where your weaknesses are exposed and where your strengths are developed. You want to skip the struggle, but the struggle is the part that shapes you. You want to avoid the hard days, but the hard days are the ones that make you resilient. You want to bypass the slow growth, but slow growth is the only kind of growth that actually lasts. You don't reach your goals because you keep abandoning the process every time it stops being exciting. The truth is, the process is not supposed to feel good. It's not supposed to be fun all the time. It's not supposed to be comfortable. If the process felt good, everybody would be successful. If the process was easy, everybody would be great. What separates people who achieve their goals from people who only dream about them is the willingness to embrace discomfort. You gotta learn to love the days when it's boring. Love the days when it's repetitive. Love the days when results don't show up yet. Because those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that push you forward while everyone else gives up. You want the outcome, but you're allergic to the process. You say you want to transform your life, but you don't want to transform your habits. You say you want success, but you don't want to sacrifice your old identity. You're still holding on to the version of yourself that's comfortable, that's predictable, that doesn't stretch, that doesn't grow. But listen to me, you cannot become the person your goals require while staying the person your comfort prefers. The process forces you to let go of who you were so you can become who you need to be. Every time you avoid the grind, you avoid the growth. Every time you choose comfort, you choose delay. Every time you take shortcuts, you cut short your own development. The process doesn't just deliver results, it prepares you to handle those results. If you skip the preparation, the outcome, if it ever came, would break you. The process teaches you discipline, consistency, patience, humility, work ethic, and resilience. These qualities aren't optional. They're essential. They are what sustain your success long after you achieve it. You keep thinking you're ready for the life you want, but the truth is, the process shows you how unprepared you actually are. It exposes your inconsistency. It exposes your excuses. It exposes your lack of focus. But instead of seeing that as a blessing, you take it personally and quit. You think difficulty is a sign to stop, when really it's the proof you're on the right path. The process is not punishment, it's preparation. The process is not a barrier, it's the pathway. You gotta stop falling in love with the results and start falling in love with the routine. You've gotta stop chasing the destination, start respecting the journey. You've gotta stop being obsessed with the finish line and stop being obsessed and start being obsessed with the daily step. Success is not built in one moment. It's built in millions of small decisions, small sacrifices, and small disciplines that stack on top of each other over time. Over time, the people who win aren't necessarily more gifted. They're just more committed to the daily grind. They don't try to escape the process, they embrace it. The process demands consistency, and consistency demands sacrifice. You can't keep all your old habits and expect a new life. You can't keep giving half effort and expect full results. You can't keep choosing what's easy and expect what's extraordinary. The process requires you to show up when you don't want to. It requires you to keep going when results are invisible. It requires you to trust the work even when the work feels pointless. But the work is never pointless. Every rep counts. Every step counts. Every day counts. Even when it doesn't look like it. There will be seasons when it feels like nothing is happening. You'll put in the effort and see no progress. You'll give everything and feel like you're getting nothing back. That's the part everyone runs from. That's the part that separates achievers from dreamers. The process delays results on purpose to see if you're truly committed or just casually interested. Anybody can work hard for a week. Anybody can be consistent for a month.